everyone, and welcome to our knowledge transfer series. My name is John Erickson, and today I'm joined by
Nick McCormack with OneAmerica.
And so this is actually somewhat of an unusual knowledge transfer session. We actually have a representative from an insurance company here today, and talking about some of their solutions to our office and some of the ways they view long-term care planning specifically. And I thought, when you get a unique opportunity like this to talk to someone from a company, we should sit down and kind of get the viewpoint from someone who's trying to push a specific subset of insurance products in the overall financial services industry. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be talking to Nick at OneAmerica about some of their views about long-term care planning. And so long-term care planning is something I would suggest is very important to me personally. Not only do I have a large subset of my clients who go through long-term care, because I primarily focus on retirees or soon-to-be retirees, but I can tell you exactly what a care facility smells like today. All four of my grandparents went to care facilities, and when my father-in-law was up on a roof and his tree fell on it at the age of 70, with his chainsaw, he naturally fell off, lost his balance, and he had to go to a care facility just recently. And you know what? It smelled the exact same way I always remember from back in the day. It's pretty crazy how that works. So today what I want to do is we want to go through some good general information. So today's not going to be any product information per se. We're talking about more theory about long-term care. And before we get into that, here's our standard disclosure statements. There's going to be a couple from both of us. From my side of the house, everything we talk about is going to be general in nature, right? This is everyone's financial situation is different. We have lots of different viewpoints. There's lots of different ways to handle finance. And then from OneAmerica side, this is our standard disclosure.
I would just say everything that we're talking about, like John said, is non-specific to any individual, and it's just broad strokes to inform you about what's out there.
Cool. Well, I was glad you came in our office today because, what happens in the financial services industry is you have lots of different representatives come to you and go, here's solutions you can offer to your clients, basically. And one of the things you offered today was something a little more unique than normal. It wasn't a product solution. It was more of a concept piece. And we'll show it on the screen here right now, basically. But this is the Plan for Care at OneAmerica Financial. Why don't you talk a little about this?
Sure. So what we found is that most of the folks that end up purchasing long-term care insurance have actually experienced some kind of long-term care need at some point in their lives, whether from their parents or their grandparents. And so we've designed a two-pager here that's just meant to walk folks through a conversation that uncovers a time in their life when they recognize that someone needed some additional help as they got older.
Okay.
And by walking them through that, sometimes, we can help them come to the conclusion whether maybe long-term care insurance is something that they should consider, or maybe their situation is actually in a great position already and they're well prepared for a long-term care event.
Well, that makes sense. And, I was looking down this sheet here, and we'll show it on the screen here again, but, what I really liked about this is, when I think about long-term care, and when I work with my clients and have this discussion, one of the biggest challenges I always run into is, I think the average person needs to have some type of plan. Doesn't mean you're buying insurance, but you need to have some type of plan. But unless you've experienced a long-term care event, per se, it can be hard to understand what that plan should look like, where the problems can be. And, when I look at the sheet right here, it's like, it's very blunt. Like, if you ever need care, what do you want to have happen, right? Who's going to actually provide this for you, right? How do you think about that?
Well, the reality of all this is that most folks, when they think about their long-term care planning, in fact, 80% when we've polled them, they say that their loved one is the person who's going to provide care for them, either their spouse or a child.
Right.
And the reality of that isn't always as they imagined it. And so what I always encourage folks to ask their clients is to, let's play that out. You're going to take care of your spouse. I can see you can transfer them no problem off a bed, but can your spouse transfer you? Right. There's a little bit of a mismatch there. And so opening up folks' eyes and playing things out really gets them to realize the need.
Yeah, it's interesting because I have a good friend, and his parents are going through this right now. Mom has dementia. Dad is fighting the good fight and taking care of mom, right? It's totally cool. But you look at the stress it's causing to the rest of the family about, Dad, you're not getting older, and we know there's an end to the rope here somehow. Maybe we should take care of this earlier. Like maybe, I get there's love there. I get you're at your home, right? There's a lot of to unpack there, right?
Folks do not realize that the burden of long-term care falls tremendously on the folks that are providing the care. It's not the person who's receiving the care. It's really the folks that are providing that care to them that are going to get worn down over time from having to do that day in and day out.
Right. And I always tell people is that when we talk about long-term care, the plans you put together day one, right? When you first kind of retire, near retirement, are the plans that occur later, right? If you don't put a plan together, that's the plan that happens, right? If you have a plan, whatever it is, and once again, I'm not, you're more the insurance guy than I am, but if you just have a basic plan, it's not for you actually, it's for your family, it's for someone else. So that's a really good point you brought up there, basically.
It's definitely for everyone else. And I experienced it with my own family, with my grandpa who was out suddenly with a stroke. And, his wishes wouldn't be known on how he potentially wanted to spend down his assets because he couldn't answer us anymore. And so when you have a plan like this in place, worst case scenario, you have it in your client's file and you know what to do when something happens.
Right, and it's basically this concept of who's going to be giving you care, how are you going to spend money for this? It's not. This is not a product push. This is literally just let's make sure that you have the basic concepts in place of what assets you're going to spend down, what documents do you have in place, right? Do you have your living will in place, powers of attorney? Do you have policies, or where's your financial information? Because interesting thing on here was that, and I've experienced this a little bit, when people go to need care, they have no idea what they bought, and their family has no idea what they've bought. We don't know where those wills or trust documents are, right?
They were probably done 20 years ago. They're long gone.
Right, that's actually a very good point. In fact, this is a little sales pitch for me, but I also oftentimes tell people that I'm in my early 40s, and 20 plus years, you're probably gonna be able to walk in my office still, right, when it's your turn. But that is actually a big problem in this industry, is that people will buy policies and they'll have no idea what's going on here. And if you just fill out a basic document saying, this is where my policies are, this was what my plan was, it kind of protects your family, gives them an idea what they can do, basically.
It absolutely protects your family, and from a financial professional standpoint, it shows that you did your due diligence and you covered all the areas of your client's finances, because a lot of these folks, that's how they look at you. They expect that you're going to cover these things, and so by having this conversation, we've got it covered.
No, that's really cool. And plus, if you're single, let's say, there's a lot of people who retire and they don't have kids necessarily, right? And that's totally cool. But maybe they need to set up trust services, right? They have trust services set up in their wills or in a life documents. It's pretty common. Like if you have a certain level of assets, you should probably be setting up trust services in your end of life documents, by the way. But just having where all this information can be at your financial advisor's office, if you have one, when the trust service comes into play, goes, well, what do I do here with your money? You've already got the plan built up, right?
Exactly.
And your wishes might be followed to a better degree.
Precisely.
Well, cool. This is great information. We're going to provide this on our website. So what we'll do here going forward is we'll provide this document to you guys, and what we'll do is hopefully we can have more long-term care videos, more product specific, because one of the gaps in the insurance industry is trying to get good product information is hard. It's usually gated behind agents who want to sell you things, right? And if we can just spread knowledge about what this is, how this works, I think people could be in a better position to address these things in the future. But just starting at the basics with a plan like this, and this is what this goal of this video was, to just go, let's create a plan, I think is really strong. So we're going to let everyone get going here. Thank you so much for showing our office today, Nick.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And that's great. And then what we'll do is hopefully here in the future we'll shoot a couple more videos on some product stuff.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.